Hi, Paul. So where are we?
We are on top of Beaune in a vineyard called Bressant, and we are in David Croix's Beaune Bressant.
And what are we doing here?
We are here because you insisted that we talk about something we talk ourselves a lot about when we taste, and that is terroir and how it influences minerality. I said the word minerality.
Yes, you did.
Well, we believe in it, and not only do we
Wait. Do you also believe in Santa Claus?
I don't, that's a lie. But minerality is real. And not only do we believe in it, a lot of the domains we work with believe in it, and we sort of see it the same way.
Which is?
Which is that it's mostly a texture, not an aroma or a flavor, and that basically is felt. So, when you taste, there's a process, there's a time between the moment you ingest the wine and the finish. It can be many seconds long, sometimes up to a minute or so. What we think minerality is felt in the middle, on the mid palate. And the problem, the reason why it's not a universally accepted thought, is that if you start thinking and judging a wine as soon as it's in your mouth, your brain's not really available to focus on the mid palate, where we believe minerality mostly expresses itself. And then you'll probably catch the finish, but you'll miss that moment in the middle. So what happens in that moment can be very assertive, but it also can be very subtle. 2 or 3 seconds after you started tasting, there's this sensation of pressure in the mid palate, which is basically the back of your palate, and sometimes the back of your tongue. And literally, what we think minerality is applying pressure, pushing your palate up, pushing your tongue down. As I said, it can be subtle, but if you focus on it, it's pretty obvious. It doing this is also why we refer to the wines as being vertical, as opposed to the front of the palate, which is pretty horizontal and broad and shaped this way. And we believe that it's structure in reds that reveals terroir in Burgundy. That structure, and specifically the tannins and that pressure that is minerality.
And specifically, we're here in this parcel today to talk about what?
Well, it's not a very common type of terroir in Burgundy. However, it's one of the most assertively mineral terroirs we have. So, do you see all these little gravels here? All of these little stones, they're very angular, meaning they haven't traveled very far. They haven't been rounded by travel. Basically, in Burgundy, when we talk about gravel, you're usually talking about what happens at the mouth of a valley in an alluvial fan. Rivers have eroded the gravel from the hautes côtes and brought these huge beds of gravel to the mouth of the valley. And so it's more rounded gravel. Think more like Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And in that type of gravel, you actually don't have a huge sense of minerality. You can have a beautiful sense of round fruit. They can be very pretty, very aromatic. Here, the gravel has been created not by erosion, but definitely by weathering through the freeze-thaw cycle. It's basically exploded the bedrock, and left these huge beds of gravel on the slopes. And all these little angles, there's a lots of surface, different surfaces, as opposed to bedrock. And there's lots of active limestone. Because when Burgundians talk about active limestone, they're always talking about profoundly mineral wines. So generally, the tannins of red wine or the tannins of Pinot here, you can almost feel every single grain. It's a grainy sensation. It's a grainy texture. And it expresses terroir in different sizes of grain, different powers, different hardness of grain. But here, what active limestone does, it makes everything super compact. You can't tell the grains apart. So on the finish of the wine with Greze Litée, you have this extremely compact finish. You could almost think of it as white wine minerality, something you'd see on Kimmeridgian and Chablis, something you definitely see on red wines grown in Kimmeridgian in Cahors, for example. This super fresh, compact, angular finish. Often the vocabulary for minerality is not the pretty vocabulary we like to associate with wine. It's not soft, it's not cuddly, it's not vanilla-y. It's angular, it's compact, it's tannic, it's astringent, it's, you know, it's more aggressive. But that is part of its beauty. It's a cubist beauty, if you want, rather than a romantic beauty.
What are some other vineyards do we see Greze Litée?
It's not mega common, but starting in the north, most of Clos du Roi is on Greze Litée. Gevrey, south of Gevrey, on the western side of Gevrey-Combat. And as you climb the slope, because that's right below Moret, into Montlouison, I think all the way to the top of the slope. Then if you go down to Chambord, there's supposed to be a bed on top of Musigny, on the top of the Grand Musigny, the big part of Musigny. That's a little controversial. Some domains don't think it's there. Baume-les-Regnault, above La Romanée. Here in Beaune, both in Bresson and the most famous cru in Beaune, which is Beaune Grève. There's rumored to be some in Rugien-Haut, though I don't think Thomas Boulet has ever told us that it was Greze Litée. I think he thinks it's something else, at least in his parcel, and probably a lot of other places, but not common.
And the expression of Beaune Grève and Beaune Bresson in terms of the Greze Litée is sometimes different. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yes, so I'm a little puzzled by this, but definitely some wines that grow on gravel feel darker, fruited. Beaune Bresson is not just because of the Greze Litée, but probably because of its altitude.
Right, because
feels fresh. So this is a very obvious expression of minerality. That's tense, that's compact, that's not surrounded by a ton of fruit. It's really about the stones. In Beaune Grève, and to a certain extent in Clos du Roi, and I don't know if it's a terroir thing, a picking date decision, but the fruit seems to be darker, a little richer, so sometimes it hides that compact minerality of Greze Litée. David, I believe, has started to pick the wine a little earlier, so it's a less opulent, less obviously great vineyard wine, but I think it expresses Greze Litée better in a way.
Cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else you want to say about Greze Litée?
No, but I think Bresson is one of my favorite vineyards in Beaune, specifically David's. The view is amazing. You have to walk through here through a little path. Feels isolated. I absolutely adore this wine. It's often one of my favorite in his cellar because of this just assertive, almost aggressive stoniness.